Thank you. So my name's Adrian Allryan. I lead our global agency team at TikTok. It's been a very interesting time for all of us over the last few weeks, and it's always an interesting time at TikTok, so we're not going to talk about any of those things. And we're going to focus really on marketing innovation for 2025 and the outlook. So I'm going to open the floor and a bit of British chivalry. I'm going to start with Jodi to introduce herself and give a fun fact about herself and just kind of talk a little bit about what she sees broadly for the 2025.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jodi Zimmerman. I'm the Senior Director of Media Strategy at WBD. I focus on our streaming business and specifically our original content. Went to Syracuse, 2014 grads, thank you. And my fun fact that I would say is, career-wise, I've had an interesting experience where I've been with, I started on the Warner side of the house at HBO about 7.5, 8 years ago, and prior to that was working at Discovery. So a real full circle moment and had the chance to kind of see both ends of this new brand come together, which has been really fun. In terms of 2025, I think some of the big things that I really see coming, especially in the entertainment space, is this notion of fewer, bigger bets and this really strive for monocultural moments when you see what Barbie's been able to do and now Wicked, and that really becoming more of the trend of how do we have these, key moments throughout the year, whereas I think we kind of went into this content overload space the past few years. So that real focus and, throughout the different marketing needs. I'm going to pass it to
Bruce, Professor Bruce, why don't you introduce yourself?
I can't top the introduction. Thank you, Cheryl. Fun fact, because I'm not going to, I was a nightclub DJ when I was at Syracuse, on Marshall Street. How about that? I know when you think of hip-hop, you think of me, right? And EDM, and country. I mean, I just bring it all. The upcoming, how about this? The streamers will do something that is not predictable, but yet predictable. So I actually watched some of Election Night on Amazon with Brian Williams. My children made fun of me because why are you watching that? But it was very interesting to me see that live has become so hot, and especially with Election Night on Amazon. So that I find that's going to be more of a trend coming up. Not necessarily that, but something along those lines.
Bruce is too shy to say he's DJing after the
I'll be the after parties at your place.
James, over to you, sir.
Okay, so I'm James Gregson. I'm the VP of Creative at OLIPOP, which is a better for you soda brand. Fun fact would be I'm also a Syracuse grad, 05. Fun fact related to that, I was part of the men's soccer team, but all 4 years, never played women. That's my claim to fame. Never played women. But it was a great time. A lot of character building stuff. Very different environment. Going to school and waking up at 6 a.m. to forcibly go to practice in Syracuse weather. Wouldn't advise it. Carefully. As far as my thoughts about 25, I think it's not too much going out all in, but if you look at the impact that creators have had, not just influencers, but I think the creators like Joe Rogan in that space, and potentially the downfall of mainstream media, I'm very interested to see how those things play out from a brand marketing standpoint, because I think there's going to be a massive impact, not just in obviously of how we start placing ads in more podcasts, but just more how those creators have a bigger, louder, more influential space, hopefully outside of just the world of politics.
Fantastic, thank you, James. Last but not least, Jeremy.
Cool, thanks. Jeremy Sigel. I oversee what we call marketing strategy and operations with Paramount Advertising. So I oversee all the IP monetization and sponsorship creation, all of our ad innovation across the portfolio, ranging from Yellowstone, if you guys saw it over the weekend, to NFL, Grammys, and so forth. Fun fact, Syracuse grad school 2003, so I tell people, because it's true, Carmel and I were one and done together. That 1 year, I sort of was like, hey, I'm good, 15 months in Syracuse, and felt like I had accomplished a lot and moved on. As far as trends in 2025, I think for us it's a lot of retail media. So we're not the place within Paramount that people think about from a performance or commerce perspective. But that's really where our focus is. So I think, and I think we're probably not alone in that space. So I think all media really wants to be performance media, and I think you'll see more of that as we move forward.
Fantastic, thank you, Jeremy. Bruce, not to pick on you again, but I wanted to dig into this. I wanted to dig into this theme of live, and we saw the marketing report a couple of days ago about the explosion of live. I just want to see, like, what does live mean to you, and how do you think it's going to expand through 2025?
Yeah, well, to jump onto that stat, I think it was like 114 million people who are now watching live sports on digital, more than traditional. I think it was in the 18 million. I might be close to those numbers. And that's not going to change. I was at Amazon, and Amazon was making a big bid, which they did, $11 billion for the rights of Thursday Night Football. Amazon now has the NBA, and you saw the big, I mean, that's just big, major sporting events. Live is really hot from a marketing standpoint, from a brand equity standpoint. It's not going to change, and it's only going to get more. So at Amazon, for example, I was a showrunner for the live music performance show that ran after Thursday Night Football. So we teased it during the game. Al Michaels pretended he knew a little bit about music, and afterwards we crushed it. We crushed it every Thursday night as a live performance show, 1 hour out of Hollywood. And that was just one example of many which we've all been seeing and reading about and hearing about. So live is really hot from a marketing standpoint, and from a sales standpoint, and from a sponsorship standpoint. That's not going to change. It's red hot.
I mean, do you see more and more different entities getting into live? For example, we've got Netflix on Friday night with the Tyson.
Not only, great point. Not only big places like Netflix and Amazon and Apple, and the major broadcast networks, but smaller. I mean, I worked at Condé Nast and I launched a live business, and we did a number of live events based on the Met Gala or the Oscar party. So drafting off of other people's events, like the Super Bowl, for example, it's just not the Super Bowl. It's everything around it. It's a fashion play. It's a food play. Yes, is the answer.
Fantastic. And Jodi, I mean, I know that you're really close to this as well. Is there any thoughts to build on Bruce's ideas here?
Yeah, I mean, I think as someone who's kind of looking for those live moments as the advertising opportunity, it's huge. I think that it's, targeting is becoming more difficult as data policy changes and all of that, but when you can find these moments where you say, okay, I have this concentrated group that has high attention, they're looking at their screen, you feel really confident. You feel like you can invest in that more than maybe your traditional ROS spot where I don't even know if the person's in the room when that runs. So I think that there's, these real moments, and again, in that spirit, like I mentioned earlier, like creating culture, it's by surrounding other live culture and other moments when people are all together, so it's becoming more and more valuable.
And Jeremy, finally, anything else you want to build on?
Yeah, I'd say, again, we had the Super Bowl this past year. I believe it was the biggest telecast since the moon landing.
Oh, wow.
Right? So from an ad sales perspective, we go to market and we hammer home our live events. We have a calendar, we've got a huge sports portfolio, and I think for all the reasons that you guys said, right? Because I think there's a certain certainty about aggregating audiences in that size. Our clients want to engage culture, and then we can build, again, ancillary and second screen experiences around those moments, which people are very attracted to.
Fantastic. And just to build on that a little bit, for TikTok, we did our first in real life event last year. We had an in real life concert with the likes of Cardi B in Arizona. But obviously that was really creator driven. So James, obviously one of your themes was around creators and the expansion of creators. I just want to touch on that a bit more of how you see creators coming to more mainstream media.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm also looking at it from a much smaller business standpoint. Although I spent 8 years at Lego where we had a much different, bigger, vast perspective on things. I mean, I think you talked about monoculture. I think we're looking at it at a very different lens, almost an opposite lens of those. What are those niche micro opportunities where we can have more influence and I think have a bigger playground to play in, and creators enable us to do that, right? Because they are essentially niche communities in of themselves. So I think there's a lot of appetite and a lot of opportunity for smaller brands like us to have success in those spaces. As much as I'd love to invest in Super Bowl and things like that, that's just not in our budget. And I think that's actually good for us as we're trying to build sort of baseline awareness and really interesting, hyper-specific audience groups.
Fantastic. And Jeremy, kudos to you. We see Paramount as one of the best users of creators on TikTok, and a really early adopter. It'd be great to understand how you see them as part of your marketing mix today and how you see that expanding out into 2025 and beyond.
yeah, I think it's core to us, so again, if we're gonna do a Super Bowl, again, I think we wanna try to combine a Super Bowl spot with a bunch of influencers, right, sort of around that moment. So we see it packaged together, we see it honestly as the same thing, right? We're gonna take the live events or a television show and we wanna eventize those with, with a creator campaign that may include 10, 20 creators of our advertisers to make it a moment, again, to sort of reach that, let's call it sort of mainstream audience and then the niche audience that you think about. So we go to market with sort of the whole package.
Fantastic. Any more thoughts on creators and the exposure of creators, or should we move on to maybe some challenges? We can't be all good.
Challenges. We have no challenges.
So, I mean, it's been a really interesting...
Budget. Who in here has that as a challenge? By the way,
all hands up.
only one, only two. I look at that challenge of budget as an opportunity because everybody's, oh, we have no money. We're only going to do built or sold. We all know what that means. And I look at it as though, wait a minute, let's take on the challenge and figure out a way to do it for no money or little money. So that's a challenge, but I think the direct-to-consumer piece of it, the creator community, sort of helps eliminate some of that. Would you say that? Somebody? I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, but I think, even thinking about the less traditional creators too, but even how can you start to put things into market that inspire consumers to become creators and advocate for your brand, I think is one solution to having less budget is get people to do the work for you and get the impressions for you, so I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so I think probably one of the most memorable marketing moments of all time, I think was $0, which was the Oreo you can done in the dark, right? So shifting the conversation to, I would say like real-time contextual, I'm gonna sort of pivot to like real-time contextual relevance, right? Which is almost like you can't plan for that. I think we're using, again, I'm gonna say, that's it. That's my thought.
Yeah, I think you have to build out a system that enables that, right? So that you're not going all in on big brand campaigns every year. And if that is part of your marketing calendar, how do you build out the process so that you can allocate and be more reactive to those opportunities in those moments? I've got maybe a controversial point of view on reactive social and those opportunities where I really do think at the end of the day it is brands just speaking to other brands and community managers speaking to other community managers. But then I do look at some of those opportunities as wildly creative, wildly successful. Shout out to anyone who knows about that Away campaign with the actor from Chef. I can't remember what his name is. And they did like a really great social response to his Calvin Klein underwear.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was
The bear.
Yeah, the bear. That's right.
We got that.
Yes, sorry, thank you. And it was just a very simple reactive post to the suitcase in white Calvin Klein underwear, which sounds completely absurd, but it works very well. A lot of argument.
That's the power of social.
Yes, it is parasocial.
And to Bruce, just to go back to your point, budgets, when budgets are cut, it's more important, measurement becomes more important, access to data becomes more important, targeting becomes more important. We've had this kind of on-off cookies situation over the year. How do you think that's going to impact like the planners and buyers and the approach to marketing and measurement for 2025?
Yeah, the data point is, welcome to Amazon, we're all data driven, and the data point is crucial because it's helpful, but it also hinders, to be honest with you. I got a thing about data. I really believe that every company needs to have it. You need to do all your research, but I also think that there are pieces that I've seen that actually are counterintuitive to the data. So we can talk about that all. It's a whole another. Can we do another panel?
Thursday night classic, yeah.
We're doing sports data on it.
Halloween.
Anyway, I'm really mixed about that in terms of the data point, how important it is, but how it may end up being counterproductive. That's me.
Big double down on that. Like as a creative, right? I think we as a creatives can be completely paralyzed by data and overly informed by data. I think at some point you have to balance what data can do to help inform, make your creative better, but also not paralyze you and make you indecisive, right? I think there has to be a balance. You do have to trust your gut a little bit while helping data inform.
I agree with that too. I think it's similar to some of the conversation we had around Gen AI of like, this is an enhancement, not a replacement, and it should make you, it's a tool in your toolkit. It is not actually driving your marketing and media plan.
Fantastic. Jeremy, anything you want to add to that? Absolutely. Well, we've been so scintillating and informative that we've only got about 6 or 7 minutes left, which is it flies by then. I would just want to ask the group, and I'll start off with you, Jeremy. What one thing do you think you're going to change your approach in 2025, and what impact that will have on how you spend your budgets?
Yeah, again, so we don't spend money, we take other people's money to spend. But I'll say again, it sounds super cliche, but we are using AI in lots of different ways. We're working with a vendor right now to actually configure our RFP process leveraging AI, right? So we want to sort of, again, leverage data and AI to respond more thoughtfully to advertiser proposals. We're leveraging AI to try to build better personalization capabilities, and thinking that everything from, virtual product placement within our shows to, enhancing the CTV experience. Again, so we're trying to leverage, data and I think really meaningful ways that hopefully move things forward.
Fantastic. Jodi, over to you. What one thing would you change in terms of your approach in 2025?
Yeah, I think we're kind of taking a closer look at some of the creative that we choose to use in our paid promotion and trying to think more about how do we listen to the consumer through social listening tools, things like AI that can help us better inform that and do things that are a little bit more bespoke to where we're showing up. So I think, kind of, we say breaking the social mold that we all learned 5-10 years ago of like, oh, it needs to be sound off, and first 2 seconds needs to have a brand logo, and you put it on TikTok, and it's like, what is this for? So trying to think more about, how we can better cater that to what the consumer is looking for and will engage with.
Fantastic. James, anything like that?
Yeah, I think, again, coming from the perspective of being part of a brand that has fairly low brand awareness, I don't think we're looking at revolutionizing the way we do marketing outside of invest heavily in advertising and start building a very clear foundation of what we want, what we are, who we are, and what we're about. I do think in 25, I'm going to have a very strong perspective of where we invest from a media perspective and how we invest it. I also think just understanding the bigger spenders in our category, not to be mentioned, how can we play in those spaces that they're not, right? So, there's a big better for you trend with January campaigns and everyone with their New Year's resolutions. But then this year there was a whole TikTok trend about October being the sort of time where you start investing yourself in for the future new year, right? So how does a Better For You brand show up at that time versus in January, February when every other Better For You brand is doing stuff?
Fantastic. Bruce, anything you want to add?
Cheryl lost the bet. Said we could not go through 35 minutes without mentioning AI, so I wasn't going to, but I can't help myself.
We all get $5.
I can't. Looking ahead, everybody's trying to look for an AI solution, yes, to augment, not to actually make it the thing. From an actual making stuff standpoint, if you've seen stuff that's been made with AI, it really sucks. It's not ready yet for prime time, but it will be. So I would say looking ahead, that is going to be a huge leap when it gets to the point where whatever content is being made, then it becomes eminently much more marketable, sellable, and monetizable.
Fantastic. I think we've got maybe 2-3 minutes left, so I'm just going to say what's one bit of advice you can give this group for how they want to take their approach and win in 2025, and try and make it soundbitey if possible, because we don't have a lot of time. James.
You knew it was coming. I did know it was coming, but I don't really think I've got a great answer for it if I think about it. I'll piggyback off AI. I think you cannot shy away from it, right? You have to figure out how to integrate it into your business. It is not to replace us. The robots are not going to come and take our jobs. They are going to make our jobs easier and more effective. And I think you just have to figure out what that looks like. I'm not looking at using AI to create creative assets, but I am using AI as a way to incredibly quicken the way that I get to a final output.
So lean into the tools.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Jodi, any final thoughts from yourself?
Yeah, I would just say, as we're talking about marketing innovation in general, I think that there's a tendency to hyper-focus just on the digital and tech aspect of it. And I think looking for that innovation in more traditional channels too, of how can you do a really cool, sick print ad that's gonna get some earned media behind it too. Like, not everything has to be so tied into the new tech that's coming out.
Innovation is everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's my soundbite, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
First one to say it.
This is how this works. Jeremy, any final thoughts from yourself?
I feel inspired by you, so I'm going to go with QR codes, right? I feel like
They're back.
they're back. That's right. I remember like 10 years ago, it was cool, and it was like very uncool.
The Cash App ad or something.
Oh yeah. And I think so I think there's been a convergence between sort of post-COVID QR code usage, right? We go to restaurants and suddenly QR codes are everywhere, along with personalization with technology. So I think there's like a behavior technology convergence that's actually making QR codes relevant and potentially smart, and something that people can leverage anywhere from print to linear to a menu item.
Just to put this on a bus ad. I saw a bus ad and I'm thinking like, who is chasing after the bus that's going?
Bruce, we'll finish up with you. Any final pieces of advice?
A few of the previous panels mentioned this, so I'm going to go there as well. E-commerce, as it intersects with digital and social, is going to be even bigger. And if you're not in the direct-to-consumer space, you should be. And if you are, you should be more. And as it intersects with e-commerce, that's how everything's going to be working, I think, in the next few years.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, James. Thank you, Bruce. Thanks, Jeremy. Jodi, thank you all for your time and attention. And Bruce is DJing 10 p.m.